Rest.com, and I'm just gonna hit the lights because it's like 5:30 in the morning, something like that, maybe 6. So most of my team, we've talked in the last week or so about all the passport bros that are going down to, well, let's talk about Latin America first, and we'll talk about Asia, because there's two real different types of guys down here that start off as just getting their feet wet, coming down for like a week, or going to other parts of like the tourist areas of parts of Latin America, which is totally cool, totally fine, and it should be encouraged that you get your passport right away. Because if you're dealing with stuff back where you are, it's a pretty good possibility that you'll come down here and you'll never have to deal with it again. That's what I would like to think, that the motivation for most people coming down is just for a more economical situation as far as rent goes. And hey, look at that. Well, are you in Bangkok? Look at that, man. Look at that. My dude is in Bangkok. Man, I was thinking he was in Illinois, and now he's in Bangkok. There's a dude who's in Medellin before, as I was in Colombia. Still here, huh? That's good, man. A ton of guys are in Pattaya right now, the Passport Bros. I was just on a podcast with Austin Holloman. If you guys have not checked out his stuff or gone onto their Facebook group, but look up Austin Holloman. You can do the hashtag It's Just That Bad, and you could add your experience, strength, and hope with what you've had to deal with, and why we choose that life. Because it's not for normal people, okay? Normal guys can't just hop on a plane and just take off. They got like family and kids and girlfriends and wives and ex-wives and obligations and things like that. And if you have your house in order, you can take off and do what you need to do, which is exactly what I did at precisely the right time. Because let's face it, I would prefer to have stayed overseas. You get out of the military, you can stay overseas. There's nothing restricting you from staying overseas whatsoever. You are a military member and you get out of the military. This is not necessarily, you can out process overseas unless you have some need, to go to the VA hospital. But then again, there's VA hospitals in other countries too. There's a VA hospital in other countries. Sorry, not other countries. There are no VA hospitals outside of the United States or outside of the territories. The VA hospital in San Juan, Puerto Rico has about 100,000 veterans. So if you want to go to Puerto Rico because you can't get a passport for whatever reason, or you can't renew your passport for whatever reason, then you could go to Puerto Rico, because there's no restrictions on going to Puerto Rico. There's no restrictions on going to Guam. You can go to Guam if you want to. Guam's on the other side of the world. You'll probably be bored as shit, but you can go to Guam. There's a bunch of little places that you're allowed to go just with a driver's license. And the U.S. Virgin Islands is one of those places. As a matter of fact, that's the place where I got dengue. I was so sick, it was terrible. So those are some options for the guys who are interested in staying overseas. Like I said, get your feet wet, go check a couple of places out. Now, phase 2 is to get your banking stuff in order, get your passport, visas in order. And most of you guys that are heading down to Brazil, I know you guys are anxious and you want to buy one-way tickets and all this stuff, and that may be a big error. If you don't have a visa, you can't even get into Brazil. So you got to start that paperwork right away. The average, I think the visa in Brazil is like $180. You could get that if you wish. Now, let's say you want to go, you're going to get your visa while you're in Colombia. That's good. There's a set of processes you got to do. I did another video on that, on how to get a cedula. You see, you have a certain amount of days, a certain amount of things. And if you don't do them by that day, you have to leave the country and hop back through and start the process all over again. So don't screw that up. And also remember that if you're going to stay in Colombia, there's that 183-day mark. If it's 183 days, they can charge you 33% on all your worldwide income. And that means all your worldwide income, all your investments, maybe your businesses, and they have so many tax evaders in Colombia from the country itself that if they were to round everybody up and put everybody in jail that owed taxes, they would just have to put a wall around the entire city of Medellin, and that would be your jail. okay, because that's how many tax evaders there are. So they go after the people who have money, and that would be your expats, your extranjeros, your foreigners, your whoever that decides, ah, fuck this shit, I don't want to be here anymore, and they decide to go to Colombia to live, not knowing there's all these rules. It's backwards land. It's bizarro world. Now down here in Mexico, it's a little more lenient, but you're still going to pay taxes on stuff that if you are not set up in such a way that you're not protected. And if you're under a charity or something like that, then you're allowed to get those specific types of visas, which also means that you're a volunteer or you're not actually gaining any money, so there's really no taxes to get. And that's a good way to set up a bank, which, by the way, this week, I just want to give you guys a back what happened yesterday. These are the small things that happened in Latin America that I was dealing with a few days prior. I'm like, I got this letter in the mail, said the bank was closing my account. And I'm like, what on earth would they close my account for? I've had it for like 5 years and millions passed through that bank account. It doesn't make any sense at all to get rid of somebody who's one of your best clients. So I go in and they said, yes, you have to update your address and bring your passport in, your new visa. So I'm like, great. So I do, and I bring it in, and they're on the phone, and they're click on the computer. And then I come back in, I go home, and then I try to use my card again in another week, and it doesn't work. And I go back in, and I see the same guy, and he fixed it for me, fortunately. But then I got a letter in the mail saying they were closing my account. So I'm like, what am I supposed to do here? And I said, well, can they fucking fix it? Because it was their error. And they're like, oh, no, this one's definitely permanently closed. I'm like, why? They didn't even give you a reason why. So you have to go and open another bank somewhere else. But see, if you have a charity or just like an LLC type of situations, and you run your business through those, then you're anonymous. So you don't exist anymore. So in the event, let's say you are from Canada or something like that, and you have some outstanding whatevers and people are trying to chase you down for money, then the only way that they would know that you were part of that charity and your banking runs through there is if they knew the name of the charity or the LLC, because they have no way of determining that. I'm not talking about government entities. I'm talking about individuals, bill collectors, credit card debt people. I don't know. These are just things that the men have told me and the things that have worked for them. So I'm passing that message on. There's a number of things, and every country that is in Latin America has its own little quirks and things like that. Is it worth it? Well, let's look at it like this. If the United States is absolutely corrupt and nobody knows it, but you go to all these other Latin American countries thinking that it's going to be less corrupt, you're in for a big surprise. It's all corrupt. And except here, it's a little more out in the open. It's clearly corrupt. Or Colombia, you don't get anything done unless you have police paid for to do their damn jobs. So corruption sometimes could be beneficial for you. I'm not saying I agree with it. I don't like it, and I think it's dumb, but it's part of the culture. So you can learn to expect these things in advance before you decide to move down to Latin America. Now, what else? Quality of ladies are higher in Latin America than they are in the United States because, one, you're eliminating the gigantic women that are as heavy as a man or heavier than a linebacker for the whatever football team in an NFL. And so why would anybody deal with that when you can come down here and you get a woman that's a size 4 in a dress that has an education that hasn't been run through by 30 guys? You know what I'm saying? Because the culture is totally different. Okay, so MedTech says, I've narrowed my choices to Cambodia and Thailand. Opening a bank account in Thailand is notoriously difficult. So problems are not limited to Latin America, and I'm glad he brought that point up, because if you can get a Schwab account while you're in the United States, you can use that U.S. bank Schwab account in order to withdraw spending money, okay? Spending money. Remember, we're going to talk about multiple levels here. Spending money. But the good thing is that you can withdraw from the ATM and you don't pay a fee. Now, for example, you're in Medellin, Colombia, you have a Bank of America or whatever, and you go to withdraw your rent. Now, sometimes you might have to, depending on how much your rent is, take out 3, 4, 5 different times. And every single time that you take out, it nails you twice. So you end up paying about almost $12 per withdrawal. So you're looking at, paying extra $45 just to take your rent out. That's crazy. Because that, like $45 in fees, that's like the amount you pay for your housekeeper for like 2 weeks. So why would you blow money like that? So the solution to that is to open a Schwab account, one of these things that reverses the ATM fees, the foreign ATM fees. If you guys have a federal credit union for the Navy, I think does it too, but there's a few of them that do it. But what the real good stuff is, and this is where I think you guys should benefit the most from, is getting yourself a American Express Gold card or a Platinum card if you can get one. Because you could stay at a lot of hotels, you can get a lot of, but the main thing for me is that if I'm going to be spending money, then I'm going to want to be spending it for points. And I just got my statement. It said it had like something like 19,000 miles. And I was like, hell yeah, because then I can go where the fuck I want right now for free if I wanted to, and back, and you know what I mean? So cool. So points on cards. Also is that the lounges in the hotels, the lounges in the airports, sometimes they have like bag carry service. If you're stuck in a layover, you can hang out in their lounge. If you guys are smokers, they have smoking sections inside the lounge, and they sell cigars. They have alcoholic beverages if you're a drinker. But other than that, tea is free, coffee's free, all the sodas you can drink are free. They make chips like there on the spot. So lots of snacks and stuff like that. Instead of going into and sitting in security and paying $2.75 for a banana, you are now entitled to go sit in one of these really beautiful salons that they have here for the airports. Also, if you're a bus guy, they have, here at the bus terminals, they have these beautiful salons that are only for those people who have the special cards. So if you have one of the American Express cards that allows you to get points and miles and things like that, it's a big bonus. Because if you're going to be using your ATM, your debit card, you're going to be wanting to do this. Okay, if you're over here for a period of time, you're allowed to basically start your credit score all over again. That's what they did to me. They literally handed me a credit card. So here's $20,000 in a credit card. I was like, and it gives you points, and it gives you a 6% discount when you go to buy anything at the pharmacy, 5% on food and entertainment, 3% on gasoline, unheard of, 3% rebate on gasoline. And I literally filled up twice last month because I don't drive a lot. And I got all these points, and I was like, well, this is awesome. Now I have all these points, I can fly some more. So those are big benefits of doing that. So those are also things that you can use. You run your LLC from the States or a charity from the States so you can receive dollars as donations. Do not do as a lot of us did and then move to that country and open a foundation there where you can't receive dollars and can't receive cash apps and can't receive things like that, because that's the kind of position I'm in now, because I'm a volunteer here. So it's not like I'm have some surplus of cashes thing around, to pay for everything. But I always saw that people are very suspect when it comes to charities, like sending money to Colombia. People are like, oh, probably sending some drug cartel or something like that, when legitimately you're sending it to a foundation like the one Angeles de Medellin, the Angels of Medellin, to buy 500 pairs of shoes for the kids who don't have any shoes. So when we finally did get the 500 pairs of shoes, it went through a GoFundMe account from somebody in the States who came down. We distributed all the shoes. By the way, 7,000 kids showed up for us to give away 500 pairs of shoes. But we also gave away coloring books and paints and markers and things like that too. So people are very highly suspect. But if you have a charity that's set up in somewhere like Delaware, maybe somewhere like, an LLC or a charity of something, you can receive payments. Now, if you have, all you need is Wi-Fi, you can transfer money from back and forth to all these accounts if you need to. and you use your debit card for your expenses, so you get those points. So you can in turn use those points to fly to and fro wherever you need to go, or to get discounts on stuff, or you get cash back. Very, very beneficial. So you got to kind of move your pieces around a little bit. The old days, we used to say just get 2 bank accounts in the States. Well, now I think differently because of all the, well, you always got to have 2 accounts, but it doesn't necessarily mean to be your specific accounts. Could be your LLC accounts, could be your charity, could be one that sends to your pension fund. If you have a pension, that's probably where you want to send your money to. Let's see what we got. Let's see, MedTech says, as a foreigner, it took me 14 years to build enough credit to acquire a credit card. Isn't that something? And see, he's probably been on his stuff for all this time, probably been doing the right thing, who knows? But 14 years to build enough credit to even get it to acquire a credit card. Isn't that something? Especially most of us who bought houses before the 2008 crash. Woo! You know what I mean? Having to run to Home Depot and you're using that credit card and you're just burning it up, hoping that you'll get this job done in time to flip this house and then you can walk away for another year. Oh boy, was that a rude awakening if you guys were stuck with houses, stuck with inventory of houses. My God. It was, now look at it. Now look at it. I'm not hoping for a collapse. I'm just better off elsewhere. You know what I mean, guys? Listen, if you want, I got a new email address. Very important you guys take a note of this because I have a new email address. Because apparently all of my, the charity that I work with, their email server, I come to find out I got like 47 messages in my spam and it automatically was filtering me out of people's inbox. So I was like, I don't have much of a choice now. So if you take a note, my new email address is veteranslife, veterans with an S, life, at protonmail.com. Now tomorrow we're going to be heading to the junkyard. MedTech is this dude. Hey, listen, I need you guys to do me a favor. If you are watching this on the replay, which I hope you are, look on MedTech's YouTube channel because he, basically his job is like the stuff I love doing, which is like, taking apart old cars, stripping off cars, like junk man. I mean, magnets and the whole thing. I'm guessing. Okay, bank loans, okay. MedTech, let me ask you a question. Can we talk about let's talk about your stuff because, all right, this guy's been overseas off and on, back and forth from, well, I don't know how many years. And you know what? Some people can go and make money in other countries and then live in Latin America because it's better. And my suggestion has always been, always earn dollars or euros and then spend and live in pesos, whatever country you decide to go to. So that's a big tip. We're going to the junkyard tomorrow to pick up 2 fire trucks, possibly rent a 3rd tractor trailer that has like that command center on the ass end of it, the big box. And you know what? I don't know shit about tractor trailers. I don't know shit about diesel engines. I don't know enough to know anything. I just know names and I know cubic inches and I know some pressure, but I don't know the first thing about, and we're looking at restoring 2 antique fire trucks that we're actually going to use for forestry. Good morning. XL Pros in the house. Guys, if you don't know XL Pros, listen to this. These guys do the wood floors and to me it looks like mansions. I don't know. Doing, let's see, custom flooring and the kind of skills that a man's going to need to know after a collapse of a civilization. So bring your tools, motherfuckers. If you're coming down, actually, no, don't bring your tools. Bring your brains. Bring an extra pair of shoes and a pair of work gloves, maybe some safety glasses, secretly disguised as Ray-Bans. Because down here, we're going to buy tons of tools. I'm building a school, by the way. I just said a lie. I'm not building a fucking school. Me and the people of the community have decided that we would like to build a school. Is that more of an honest statement? What did you say, MedTech? Listen to this. They came to this section where I am right now. And I said, hey, there's an abandoned park behind the firehouse here. Why can't we, as a team, go over there and clean it up? So we went over there and cleaned it up, come to discover there's a park underneath this big, like, it was a disaster. It was a abandoned park. And we went over there and cleaned it all out. We had about 40-something volunteers. 30 plus were from my team, the kids, and the young kids from the war band. We have a drum and bugle band. Went over there and cleaned it up, and then we met the president of the colony here. Look at that. Command center with 29,000 miles. Would you rent it to me for like a year? I'll pay. I'm good, man. I have one that they want 1,000,000 pesos for. 1,000,000 pesos is $50,000, and it is a tractor trailer. But this thing is decked out. But it's for Mexico. I don't think you could drive it out of the country. I don't know the title laws on tractor trailers. But my situation is, see, I would have happily flown to Illinois if the price of gasoline and diesel hadn't gone through the roof. I would have gone there and we could have worked something out. I could have called 3 friends and say, hey, he wants $10,000 for this old fire truck. Just the cabin and the chassis, and the thing is running like, running like a grape ape. I think we could probably build a forestry truck with it and make it something pretty amazing. And since it fits a criteria as it being an antique, whoa, Aviative View Sounds, I wanted to drop in the chat one more time my email address, which is veteranslife. Hold on a second. It's veteranslife. Hold on a second. It's veteranslife@protonmail.com. Veterans with an S. Veteranslife with an S. @protonmail.com. That's encrypted. I suggest if you guys do not have Proton Mail and you're still using Gmail, use Gmail for your junk bullshit that you need to communicate with. If you're a veteran, you need to communicate with the Department of Veterans Affairs, then you want to use Gmail. If it's anything that has to do with stuff that's just not important, use Gmail. Proton Mail is secured, encrypted, and we can actually have like instant messaging and all that stuff in between those two. If you guys know better than me about Tor and all that stuff, and I'm not saying that it's just you're hiding anything, but I think it's if you and I want to make moves, okay. And like I said, I only want to talk about equipment. My boy. XL Pros has a guy that's in, I can't remember if it's Alabama or where it is, who's a welder. And he has a kick-ass YouTube channel where he's welding containers. And you know what I mean? So he's doing the build-outs on containers and stuff. And his work is clean. And welders can suck and welders can do clean work. And you're like, all right, that's some quality. So yeah, I'm watching his videos, and I think that he should start a trade school. As a matter of fact, I made this announcement before. It's like we were invited to come and do a seminar at the university here. So I went and did the seminar, and I brought all the kids, like 30 kids. Yeah, Hog on Welding, and it's in Arkansas and Alabama. Yep. Oh yeah, and see, MedTech says he's got that. It has 54,000 miles on it. It's a solid truck. And that one was an international. I want to say it was an international. I don't remember. But I think it still had the PTO, and I think everything was in place. So you could put your own equipment on there and stuff. And if you guys didn't know, I was working with the United States Navy and the War Department, designing a new fire nozzle. And this is back in the 90s. So now the patent has run out. I am now been commissioned to change the United States Navy's fog nozzle that was specifically made to replace halon systems. for the low, low price of 16,000 US dollars. Well, last year, the patent expired. We had a meeting on the phone. When that patent expired, they offered me the plans for no cost to me whatsoever because it is on the patent office. And I just needed a couple of guys to help me re-engineer this thing so we could put it onto one of those old fire trucks, so we can make an old fire truck retrofitted with these new nozzles that are actually just heat seekers, man. It's just like a heat-seeking fucking missile. And it creates like a storm of fog. And it's chemicals, so it's not just straight water. It's chemicals, air, so it creates these micro... yeah, man. Look, Aviated View Sounds, so you guys know, he knows his shit. He knows his business. He knows his business. He knows his stuff. So anyway, back to this thing. If there was a way that I could get an old truck that was in the United States that I could drive around the United States and then give a presentation to all these fire stations exactly how this fire, this new fire nozzle works, it would basically revolutionize all of firefighting for far as forestry goes, because I can retrofit a truck to drive by itself. I could actually connect LiDAR on an antique truck and suddenly make it digital. I can actually control a truck with my cell phone if I wanted to. It's a little piece of script. It's a lot of mechanical pieces in there, and if you guys didn't know, we're building a mechanical fire truck, a robotic fire truck down here at the station. Tomorrow morning, I'm going to do another live because we have a class at 9:30 a.m. where the brigade, we're going to be training the brigade, and I got to make this thing because, you know, the university is telling me, hey, we really are interested in your project, so I'm going there in person. And when I say, here's the plan, I already wrote a lessons plan. We're basically what we're going to do is we're going to 3D print these nozzles. We're going to make them all manual, semi-automatic, and automatic. So they basically heat seek fire. But the fucking cool thing is, it doesn't just heat seek fire, it actually tracks air. So if you can anticipate where the air is going to be bringing the fire in the forest to the other end, you know that this truck can actually treat all of that area with one big blast. It covers over an acre or so per minute. And what it does is it creates these little sticky bubbles that are micro bubbles. So it looks like mist, but it's actually micro bubbles of sticky chemical. And it isn't anything corrosive or anything bad. You could actually mix this stuff in your kitchen, and it's a hell of a lot cheaper than Purple K. Purple K is a chemical that's used, we put into water tanks, but it does nothing to reduce the amount of water that we use. See, my system uses 80% less water to produce the same amount of water that, let's say you have a 10,000 liter tank. Well, for the amount of area coverage that these nozzles will produce and the amount of fog that this thing produces, and the fact that you don't even have to drive it, you just set it off into the woods and it does it by itself, and then it comes back. That's pretty amazing. So it runs on LiDAR. You can run a drone over it at the same time. And it's all electric. So, and I used a 1978 Volkswagen Hormiga, which means ant, and did the frame off. I did not do a frame off. Here I go, I'm bullshitting again. I did not do a frame off restoration. That means bolt for bolt. So don't let me bullshit you. I cleaned it up really good, best I could. I replaced the floor pans, welded all the new, the door hinges on. Everything basically. I stripped the whole thing out and then I just redesigned it and just welded on a cage, you know, to make a buggy, which is exactly what I was hoping to do. See, Medtech has this, he has an international, I don't know the size of the engine, but it is a monster. And I could easily make it into a forestry truck, because you're not going to drive long distances with those. You're only going to drive it from the station to the forest fire, and then it's going to do its thing. But my plan was to go around to the whole United States doing presentations on the, you know what I mean, like the old days. Because if, you know, think about it, if one nozzle costs $25,000 and you sell a couple of those a year as a charity, you know what I mean? All we did was we just got a bunch of people from the engineering department at the university here and redesigned the damn thing. Pretty cool, huh? Well, Not only is it cool, but it also does an additional thing too. Not only can you retrofit this thing onto any fire truck, you could actually put it on the light poles on the highways. Yes, the highway lights, which are now all LEDs that are charged by solar panels, can be used as a giant extinguisher for a tractor trailer fire. This thing actually senses fire from a kilometer away. So if fire is coming towards it, this thing will set off and it will attack the fire. It'll turn the extinguisher system on prior to the fire. So if there's a tractor trailer that's hauling ass down the highway and it's on fire, it can pull right underneath these things and it'll put it out. And that's on the highway. Well, now they've got a $10 billion US dollar contract with the state of Cancun, and they said that they want to do a demonstration down here. And I'm thinking, shit, if they've got 10 billion to renovate their entire infrastructure, why the hell not get a team of really brilliant guys and a crew of people to do demonstrations all over? And if the United States, you know what I mean, once they get their act together up there again, and they got people actually working on stuff, this would be a good opportunity for somebody. But I don't want to hold you guys too much longer. I've been on here for 30 minutes, and so far we've had good conversations. But MedTech, if you guys listen, take my email address, which is veteranslife@protonmail.com. Shoot me an email, and that way we can coordinate. Because if you're coming down here to Mexico, or if you're going back to Far East, you know, if you need contacts, or if you don't know where to go, we could probably point in the right direction. I'm the professor, and I'm out. See y'all later.